Yeah, you know what? We've been kind of monitoring this, Frank, for over the last 10 to 15 minutes here, and we were unable to get to it earlier because of the low clouds and the fog, and so he just popped out of the fog here at Newberry Park, and so we're having a look at some of the traffic conditions here. He has been able to make it down through the Ventura area, through Oxnard, through Camarillo, up the grade and towards the Thousand Oaks area, and traveling at a very high rate of speed, so 70 to 100 miles an hour occasionally here, and he's weaving in and out of traffic. The driver, from what we understand over the radio reports, is very animated, appears agitated, is waving his hands out the window occasionally here, and as you can see, he's kind of moving in and out of lanes of traffic here, so not too much in terms of volume on the southbound side of the 101 at this point. That could change as we approach the West Valley area here, but he's just past Hampshire, so just to give you folks an idea of where he is on the southbound side of the 101, he's past the 23, he's just past Hampshire, and he's now picking up speed again, southbound side of the 101, and again, we just heard that this guy is agitated, he's very animated, and waving his arms out the window, and, you know, driving at a very high rate of speed.
Well, and this is the challenge when he's agitated and animated and going this fast. When we talk about the fact that there very well likely could be traffic up ahead, that then puts those drivers at risk, and that's when the danger gets that much more increased. We know that police are aware of that, and they're trying to do what they can to mitigate that. But this guy going so fast, it looks like he's probably well. I mean, generally, if you think of traffic going, what, between 60 and 80 on any given freeway at any given time, that guy's probably going at least 100 right now.
Yeah, you know what? This is one of the higher speeds that we've seen this person at. Again, the CHP is calling this at about 90 to 100 miles an hour at times. And, you know, traffic is, for the most part, pretty light considering we're talking about Friday morning commuter traffic here. He's just past Westlake at this point. And, again, traveling very, very fast. He's weaving in and out of traffic lanes to avoid some cars. But, you know, traffic being light this time of the morning, it's not like he's having to make some very aggressive moves. He's just kind of weaving in and out of traffic, avoiding some of the cars that are coming up on him. And now at this point I see 1, 2, 3, at least 3, 4, 5 units of the CHP all in pursuit of this guy, and here he is just coming up on slower traffic up ahead. It looks like he's going to make a right turn into the number 2 lane and back, and there you go, just kind of weaving in and out. Okay, so here we are southbound side of the 101. We're just coming up on Reyes Adobe here. We're going to be coming up on Canaan, and then Las Virgenes here. Southbound side of the 101 traffic, as you see it right now, is what it looks like at least for the next foreseeable 3 to 4 miles from what I can tell here now. I should mention that we are the only helicopter up over this pursuit right now. This pursuit initiated out of Ventura County, where air support was grounded because of low clouds and fog, and we were just able to pick this up coming out of the Newberry Park area here, right at the 23 freeway, as this car basically exited the fog. And so Sky 5 HD is the only helicopter covering this pursuit at the moment here, and that being the case, we do have several units of the CHP on the ground as well, and they are not going to let this one go from what we can tell, at least not yet. Again, a driver who appears animated, who appears very agitated, and is driving very aggressively at this point here, is weaving in and out of traffic, coming up on Canaan, I believe, here, and looking up ahead another couple of miles here. It looks like traffic conditions, for the most part, remain the same in that they are fairly light at this point.
And Mark, we can sort of see that driver that you've talked about being animated. You're pretty tight on that window there, and there is a passenger in the other side, correct?
Yeah, we had, I have not got kind of small monitors up in here, so I can't tell if there's a passenger, but from the radio chatter that we were overhearing, yes, there is a passenger, and now with the close-up view that Tim Decken has given us, it does appear that there is a passenger in that car as well. So we don't know what the situation is in particular here, but we are certainly going to keep following this. You know, at this point, he's just past Las Virgenes, and he's coming up on that slight grade leading up to Parkway Calabasas. For those of us familiar with the area here, southbound side of the 101, we actually kind of paused a little bit to see him come around the bend there, and so we are actually going to make our way up towards him a little bit. But yes, Frank, he is traveling occasionally at very high rates of speed, approaching 100 miles an hour at points. I'd say this coming off the top of the grade, approaching Parkway Calabasas and in towards Mulholland is another opportunity, I would suppose, for him to gain even more speed here. Looking at traffic conditions up ahead over towards Parkway Calabasas at Mulholland, traffic conditions still remain light as we make our way into the West Valley.
From the CHP on the phone with us, Charmaine Fajardo. Tell us what you can about how this started and what the state of this suspect is.
Yes, approximately 8:07 a.m. this morning in the Ventura area, our officers noticed a vehicle at a high rate of speed, weaving in and out of lane changing on other vehicles. They attempted to initiate a stop. At that time, the vehicle failed to yield, and it started this pursuit that you're watching now.
Do we know anything about who is in the vehicle, if there's other passengers? It seems from our monitors, we can tell from Sky 5 that there seems to be another passenger in the vehicle. Do we know anything about the occupants?
We don't know anything about the occupants. The only thing we are observing also is that there are two occupants in the vehicle, but we don't have any further information or identification on those people yet.
I mean, it complicates things, obviously, when you have a second potential suspect or a victim. We don't know if the passenger is a suspect or a victim in a case like this. How does that change your tactics or strategy? Or perhaps you don't want to say, and that's fine, but it's something that pops into my mind.
Yeah, that's definitely safety is on the mind of all officers. As you said, we don't know any information on the vehicle or the parties in the vehicle, so we're not sure the situation, whether they know each other or not. Again, our officers are always going to have safety at hand, first for the driver, for our officers, and for other motorists on the freeway.
We know that the CHP and other law enforcement are always sort of finally tweaking their pursuit policies. Talk to us about your plan of attack here. What is the goal? Obviously, the end game is to get this person to give themselves up safely and peacefully without injury to your officers or innocent victims on the road.
You know, again, like you said, it just depends on the situation. Obviously, our goal is to get that party to pull over in a safe manner and conclude this pursuit. However, we kind of are going to base our actions based on what the driver does, based on what traffic is. You know, again, it's going to be safety for the other motorist. We obviously are at a busy time right now. It's going to be commute time for a lot of people, so there are people on the road. Luckily, he hasn't been affected too much by traffic. It's been light, and he hasn't done any crazy maneuvers, but you never know. So our officers are always going to proceed with caution.
And Ms. Fajardo, as you were saying that, it appears as if we've started to approach that 405 101 junction there where we knew that traffic would bottle up. I don't know if we're exactly there yet, but we're getting close. And does that help in the sense that it sort of forces the suspect to slow down?
Well, it really depends on the state of the mind of the suspect. You know, sometimes it will help, yes, and tend to box them in, you know, so that they do have to come to a stop. Unfortunately, it can cause them to do things that they're unexpected, and it can cause danger to other parties. So it really just depends on the suspect's state of mind.
And this is where they're really, I imagine your officers are really hoping that their lights and sirens will alert the people to let them through so they can keep following this vehicle. Let me ask you, do you know if your officers were able to run the plates on this vehicle? Is this a stolen vehicle we're talking about?
You know, I'm not sure. We don't have any information as to whether it is a stolen vehicle or not. As of right now, I don't believe it has come back stolen.
And if we can have a teachable moment, if you will, in a situation like this, we have all of these cars sort of stuck here. And I just saw the CHP officer. We're just passing Balboa, by the way, and approaching the 405. I saw the CHP officer kind of get stuck behind another vehicle. If you find yourself in this situation, pursuit coming up behind you, red lights and siren in your rear view mirror, is it better to pull over if you're driving at freeway speeds or to just stay in the lane that you're in?
It's better to obviously pull over to the right. Anytime an officer is behind you, whether or not they have lights and sirens on, it's better for you to move to the right and out of the way, because you never know what they're responding to anyway. But obviously, when we are going with lights and sirens, it is best for the vehicles to pull over to the right so that we can continue safely.
It looks like he's boxed in momentarily, but then and he's stuck in this huge bottleneck that happens every day at the 405 and the 101. And he was forced to stop for a moment, but then he was able to get going again. Your officers on the ground in a situation like this, are they empowered at any moment to take a pit maneuver, or is that a carefully considered decision that goes up the chain a bit?
That's definitely going to be carefully considered, especially given the circumstances of the amount of traffic on the road. We don't want anybody else to be affected in anything that we do.
Again, you know, we have the benefit of seeing the picture from Sky 5, and maybe, again, you don't want to give away this information. Air support is a tool you have. Do you think it will likely be pulled into play here?
You know, air support is definitely something that we like to take advantage of. A lot of times that will give us the opportunity to continue to follow the vehicle from the air and not put so much pressure from the actual freeway.
We just saw, actually, as we were talking about that, another helicopter fly through our shot, so it sounds as though there is law enforcement on scene now at this point, so you'll have the benefits of some other eyes in the sky.
And just to give you a sense of where we are right now, this is the 101. It appears as if the suspect vehicle chose not to jump onto the 405 north or south, stayed on the 101. We're in Sherman Oaks now, and that will take this person, once you cross that 405, the next off-ramp would be Van Nuys Boulevard, followed by Woodman, Coldwater, Laurel Canyon, Vineland. So just in terms of your planning, if you're at home and trying to figure out, is this a good time to leave the house and to pull onto the freeway, obviously this is the activity that's happening right now in the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah, we've got Ginger Chan as well as Charmaine Fajardo from the CHP Southern Division on the line. Ginger Chan, Charmaine, if we could ask you to hold tight here for a second. Ginger Chan, the congestion here is going to last a fair ways, is it not?
Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about last time around, that as soon as he crosses that 405 and he doesn't choose to make that transition to the 405 north or south, this is where those delays are. And yes, it's already as he crossed over that 405 or just before it at Haskell, we saw him start to slow down, so he's really trying to find a way out of this now. And let me just tell you, as he continues through Studio City all the way in towards Toluca Lake and Burbank, he will continue to be on those brakes because the yellow lights actually are starting to turn yellow from red. And then once he crosses over and then continues a little farther east in towards, say, Eagle Rock and Glendale, well, that's when those lights will start to turn green. But in terms of crashes or stalls, there is nothing of that to speak of, just a lot of congestion in the area that he is directly headed towards.
I want to bring Mark Kono back in. Mark, you guys were pushed in pretty tight for a moment there on, it appeared to be the passenger, but I couldn't tell. It seemed as if the passenger's body language was very casual, just sitting there as if out for a Sunday drive. But could you tell, is it a man, is it a woman, is it a child?
You know what, Frank, hard to tell. I kind of missed that push-in shot there, but I was not able to tell. I'm going to maneuver a little bit forward here and see if Tim can get into the sunroof and see what that passenger is doing. I have not detected much motion from that passenger at all during the whole time of this pursuit here. In fact, for the most part, it looks like that passenger was leaning back. Most of the motion, or most of the animation was, of course, coming from the driver at this point. We are basically stuck in traffic as we approach Van Nuys Boulevard here. Now, Ginger made a note of the slowdown here just before Haskell. It was right at about Balboa, coming up on Haskell on the 405, that we encountered all this heavy traffic. Now, again, eastbound on the 101 now from the 405, coming up on Van Nuys Boulevard, looking ahead through the valley floor. It looks like we have this sort of stop-and-go heavy traffic all the way up to the Hollywood split. Yeah, that's right, Frank. Just passing Barham, southbound side of the 101. Traffic conditions are starting to ease a little bit through this particular portion as you come up towards the Hollywood Bowl. But I will say, once you get down to Hollywood Boulevard looking ahead, it is heavy once again. But just this one little patch of easing sort of traffic here, he is able to sort of speed up as he wishes. But once again, about a mile and a half forward here, looking over towards Hollywood Boulevard, that 101 is down to a crawl once again.
Again, time is of the essence in terms of making sure that they are all over this, and CHP is. Charmaine, we've been talking about this importance of being patient, and we have to say your officers have done a great job of just sort of remaining steadily behind them. It doesn't seem as though they've added any panic to this driver. I mean, obviously being pursued by police is obviously not the best situation for somebody who's trying to flee from them, but they're being very cautious in trying to just keep an eye on this guy.
Definitely. We don't want to do anything that's going to cause him to make any more affirmative actions. Obviously we are concerned for, again, everyone's safety that's on the road, and for the driver's safety and state of mind. We have to take that into consideration. He's been moving around quite a bit in the vehicle, so that's something to be concerned with. That's something that the officers obviously have on their mind when he finally does come to a stop. Those are all kind of things that they have to take into consideration.
Well, he's coming right here into the 101, the portion of the freeway that comes right by our station here, very close to the heart of Hollywood, and it seems as though right now he's going to stay on the freeway.
It looks like they just passed the Highland Avenue exit. That's the one that takes you to the Hollywood Bowl, and soon we'll be at Cahuenga and Vine, and we'll see the Capitol Records building momentarily in the background as we see this car going right through, as you said, Michaela, the heart of Hollywood. The good news, if there is any, is that he has at times been traveling 100 miles an hour. He doesn't seem to be trying to speed up in an excessive way right now. You hope, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Fajardo, but you hope that during the course of time that the driver sort of calms himself down and then eventually comes to his senses and does the right thing.
That's true. We definitely hope he calms down and that he decides to come to a stop once he realizes there's really nowhere to go.
And I think this is Vine, and it looks like that's exactly what's happening. He's pulling over, and this is the most dangerous portion, really, of this, because you have civilians in the area, CHP officers. We don't know what's going to happen with this suspect. They are in an overpass here, and it appears as if the passenger has alighted from the vehicle, and the driver is still in the vehicle. Ms. Fajardo, walk us through this felony stop. What happens next?
Definitely, they're just going to be giving commands to the parties in the vehicle, hopefully trying to get them to obey those commands to get on the road so that the officers can make a safe approach and take them into custody.
We saw one of your officers running with some sort of case. Do you have non-lethal weapons at the ready as well for this kind of situation?
Yes, generally we do.
Okay, so obviously now it looks as though the driver is getting out of the vehicle, arms are in the air. I think the passenger is on the ground. They're having the driver back away from the vehicle to step aside from it, and they're giving him commands, which he seems to be following, not putting up any sort of resistance at this point. Now getting down onto his knees, and police will cautiously approach him and put handcuffs on him.
Most part that this suspect has given up peacefully here. He is being taken into custody, and that is some good news here. I will note that southbound side of the 101 is entirely blocked off by CHP at this point. Traffic is starting to build coming out of the Cahuenga Pass, but again, this should be something that they can take care of and clean off the freeway hopefully in the next several minutes here. The passenger, I'm not able to see where that the passenger is now, just getting up and coming towards officers or obeying the commands of the officers here, and so that's is something that should hopefully come to an end shortly. A code 4, Frank.
And Ms. Fajardo, if I can just ask you, in a situation like this for the passenger, the passenger was pulled over with handcuffs on. If that passenger is a victim, it must be disconcerting for her. We don't know yet. But tell us why the officers took the actions they did with this passenger.
They did because we don't know the situation. We still need to learn that situation. So basically, for their safety, it's important for them to keep that party cuffed until they determine all the circumstances.
Charmaine Fajardo is the PIO from the Southern Division of the CHP. We want to thank you so much for sticking with us this hour. And we are very pleased to report that this has come to a peaceful and safe end.